my mom had been the mother I wanted her to be, I'd probably not be the man I'm proud to be. I think the ability to manage your own mind and emotions is probably one of the single most important, and maybe the second is the ability to influence others, because that's what makes you a leader. And hopefully you're doing that for a higher good, because there are all kinds of leaders, as you know. But I don't think most people are very good at emotional fitness. Most people are just not as happy as they could be. I did one book, Money Master the Game. It's kind of like this.
Yes.
Only, and what I did in that case is I interviewed 50 of the smartest financial people in the world, Ray Dalio, Carl Icahn, Warren Buffett, and out of 50 of them, and again, it's in my judgment, I could be completely wrong, and I've spent a lot of time with them. Some have become really good friends. There's probably 4 or 5 that are really happy people. You go, oh, well, money makes people unhappy. Money, it has nothing to do with money. Money makes you more of what you are. It just magnifies. If you're mean, you have more to be mean with. If you're kind, you have more to give, But I think that most people are they haven't learned to manage what's going inside. It doesn't matter how much abundance they have, they're still unhappy. We've all seen people great comedians that have killed themselves. Anthony Bourdain, beautiful man, traveled the world, killed himself, fashion designers that have done it. We've all seen all these different people, Kate Spade, and it's like, what? They had everything, except they didn't master what's going on here and here. And this is why you lived your life the way you have as well. So I think that skill set is the most important one. That's why even in the book, my last 2 chapters, I think are the most important, because it's really about the power of the mind. Because everybody knows about placebos, right? They were only discovered in World War II, and it was discovered by accident. This doctor ran out of morphine, and he's treating these people that are badly injured, and you need the morphine not just so they're out of pain, but so they don't go into shock. And the actual person who discovered this gets no credit was the nurse, because the nurse handed him a syringe and said, we've got some more morphine. So he believed it, and he said, you'll be out of pain in just less than a minute. Wow. He injected them, and in every case, none of them went into shock. 90% of them were out of pain, and they used nothing. It was saline, right? So after World War II, he went back to Harvard, and he was the person that created what we now consider to be the double-blind studies, which are always compared to a placebo, right? And what most people don't know is the bigger the placebo intervention, the more powerful the mind believes in it. So what I try to do is show people, even in this book, here are the things that you can do to take control of your mind, because if you take care of your body and then you don't take care of your mind and emotions, you're gonna be miserable. Unless you can push through discomfort, most things that are gonna give you the greatest reward require discomfort initially, right? And the discomfort, it's like, my original teacher, Jim Rohn, used to always say, there's 2 pains in life, the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. He goes, discipline weighs ounces, regret weighs tons, And so I've trained myself to do that. Then I meditate. Then I always make an acknowledgement call briefly, or leave a voicemail for someone just to spark the day. And then the first thing I do is always whatever is the most difficult.
Yes.
Because then you have momentum for your day. And when you train your brain to do what's difficult first, then emotional fitness just comes naturally. And more importantly, so does achievement, so does your ability to contribute to other people. Because I have 105 companies now, to give you an idea. I manage 13 of them directly, ongoingly. And there are all kinds of different industries, from AI to my resorts in Fiji to sports teams I own. And it's insane, the dichotomy of them. We're doing $7 billion in business, so I gotta do that while I'm being a good dad to 5 kids and 5 grandkids, while I'm taking care of my body, while I'm living my normal mission. So if I don't take care of my body and my energy and my mind, you'd be overwhelmed by all the demands, because listen, all I gotta do is pick up my phone and you're gonna have all kinds of, oh, that's cool, oh shit, that's it. Because what are the chances with thousands of employees on 3-4 different continents now that somebody's messing up? If messing up is not what I think they should be doing, it's 100%. So I'd always be in reaction until I trained my brain to say, no, problems are a sign of life, and all they are challenges to be solved. And what makes you a great leader is your ability to solve problems or teach teams to build a culture where they can solve problems. And so it gives me this tremendous creativity and flexibility, but I've got the base of energy to make it work. Dealing with the loss of someone you care about is probably the most difficult thing of all. I would say maybe as a child, seeing the level of frustration between my parents, I had 4 different fathers, and watching them kind of accept whatever life gave them. It's why a lot of my drive came about, is seeing my fathers be berated by my mother, who I love dearly, and just watching them break down. Probably the single most painful event of my life, but also shaped me in such a beautiful way, was when I was 11 years old. We had no money for food, and it was Thanksgiving, which in America is a big holiday feast. And so we'd been without food before. We'd have crackers and butter, and we survived, but we weren't gonna have a Thanksgiving feast. And there's a knock at the door, and I go to the door, and there's this giant guy there with groceries in each hand. He had a pot beside him on the ground with an uncooked turkey. And I said, who are you here for? He goes, I'd like to speak to your father. And my mom and dad were yelling at each other, saying things that you can never take back. And I'm trying to make sure my younger brother and sister, they're 5 and 7 years younger, wouldn't hear any of this. And that day changed my life because I thought it was gonna be the most exciting day. Dad, go to the front. What is it? I said, it's for you. You answered, no, it's for you. I remember I opened the door and I was just so excited to see my father be happy, like we're gonna have a feast, this is gonna be incredible. And he got angry. And he's like, we don't accept charity. He went to slam the door in the man's face, and the man's foot was there, so it bounced off his foot. He still opened the groceries. He's like, sir, I'm just a delivery guy. He said, it's not charity. Everybody has a tough time. Someone bought this, and they're sending it to you as a gift. My father said, we don't take charity. He goes to close the door again. This time the guy's shoulder was there also, so it bounced off again. And then I was standing right there, and there was this moment I'll never forget where this man looked at my father, and he looked at me and he said, sir, don't let your ego make your family suffer. And the veins on my dad's face, on the side of his neck, I'll never forget, they bulged, like his face turned red. I thought I was gonna punch him in the face. And then there's this moment, my dad's shoulders dropped, he took the groceries, slammed the door, didn't say thank you, and stormed off. And I always remember thinking, like, how come he's not happy? You know, you talk about pain, it's like, I love my father so much. And there's basically 3 decisions that I think everybody makes in their life, that whether they're aware of it or not, moment to moment. I figured this out afterwards because I was so obsessed with what's wrong, because he eventually left our family. And that was the most painful thing I ever had. So it's like feeling like I failed, you know, I blame myself, like why couldn't I get through to my father? You know, I was 11 years old. But later on, it helped me understand the 3 decisions are, first, you gotta decide what to focus on. Every moment of your life, there's something grabbing your focus, and you don't experience life, you experience the part of life you focus on, right? What's wrong is always available, so is what's right, right? And there are different kinds of focus. And my dad's focus that day was really on what he hadn't done. And I know that because he kept muttering it. You know, he hadn't taken care of his family, there's no money for Thanksgiving, somebody had to give us charity. And then the second decision you make about, once you focus on something, is what does it mean? Is this the end or the beginning? If you think it's the end of a relationship, you're gonna behave different than it's the beginning, right? My dad's meaning was that he was worthless. And so then the third decision is, what do I do? Which, whatever meaning you come up with creates the emotions, which affects what you do, and what he decided to do is leave our family. But for me, it was like, this is amazing. I mean, you know, we haven't having Thanksgiving. You know, this is incredible. We got food, what a concept. And then the meaning, though, is what changed my whole life, which was, wow, strangers care. That completely changed my life. That painful experience, I couldn't deny that somebody who wanted no credit delivered this food to my family. And so what I decided to do is say, someday I'm gonna do this for another family. So when I was 17, I had 2 families, and it was a euphoric experience. I went in jeans and a t-shirt. I didn't go like the delivery guy, but I wanted to see the face of the people. And then next year was 4 people, and then it was 8. And I literally, my thing was doubling. And I had a little company, and then I got to 1 million people a year, and then I got to 4 million people a year. Then when I was doing Money Master the Game, I'm interviewing these billionaires, Jay, and I'm watching Congress cut food stamps. It's now called the SNAP program, by, I think it was $6 billion. So every family that actually needs food, and my family was one of those back then, they all have to come up with a week's worth of food out of every month. So I was like, I called my team and I said, how many people have I fed in my lifetime? I didn't know that was 42 million meals. I was like, this is pretty cool. And I was like, what if I fed 50 million people, like my entire lifetime in 1 year? And there was like, what if I did 100 million? What if I fed 1 billion people in 10 years? So that was 7 years ago. Wow. We're at 850 million meals, that's right? Amazing. And I'm gonna hit the billion earlier than what I promised and targeted, and then I've got a sustainable approach. But I tell you that because my worst day was my best day. Mm-hmm. The most painful day, the day where I felt like I'd do the least, where I felt impotent, led me to have new understandings, new skills, new capacities, new drives, new hunger. I mean, would I really be feeding 100 million people a year, 100 million meals a year if I was well fed as a child? Probably not. Mm-hmm. And I'd love to believe I'm such a perfect person, but no, I just know what suffering feels like, so I don't want anybody else to suffer, you know? Yeah. So I think sometimes the suffering experiences of our life, if we don't let them crush us, we let them drive us, they actually become the best day in your life. And taking your worst day and making your best day is a beautiful target for anybody.
That is just, it's magical even hearing it.
It's magical experiencing it. So you see there's grace in life too. It's like, if you can, like I used to think in the early days, because my mom was beautiful. She was the most influential person in my life. And yet she also, when she drank alcohol and took prescription medication, she got crazy.
Yeah.
So she smashed my head against the wall until I bled, or feed me liquid soap. And I never told anybody about this when she was alive, but I had this group of young kids that I could see, a tall white guy who seems to be quite successful. What does he know? So I told him the whole story. But out of all that, it's like, if my mom had been the mother I wanted her to be, I'd probably not be the man I'm proud to be.
Yes.
Like I had to grow. I had to become a practical psychologist at 11 to manage her so that my brother and sister weren't messed up. And it's like, there's grace in everything. And I always think it's like, it's our job to realize that life's happening for us, not to us, and to find how it's happening for us. That's our job. If we do that, then we have a magical life. If we don't, but if your energy's low and you're exhausted, then you don't find those empowering meanings.
Yeah.
That's why, to me, you can't separate the mind and the body.
Yes.
You got to feed the mind and strengthen the body on a daily basis in some way. And if you do that, life can be pretty miraculous.